Hello, it's Jack Cummings with Doorway of Hope in Hamlin, West Virginia. Thank you for joining me for Come Now Let Us Reason 15 Minutes with Pastor Jack. Tonight's lesson is Lesson 20, which is Revelation 6, 1 and 2, 96 AD to 180 AD, the white horse and its rider. And so, as promised, in this lesson, we're going to be starting to look at the seals. Tonight, we're going to be dealing with the first seal that the Lamb opens off of the scroll. Now, I know it said that he was handed a book, but actually, if you get to digging around in that, you will find that this was not a book, it was a scroll. There was no books at that time. Everything was written out on scrolls. And now, as we look at this first seal, Revelation 6:1 and 6:2, it says, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer." Now, all my life I've heard all kinds of different ideas, all kinds of different versions, theories of who this white horse on the ride, this rider on this white horse is. Some people say that he is the Antichrist. Some people say that he was Nero. I've heard some people that adamantly says that this is Jesus Christ. I listened to a minister one time that made a very good argument. He said that the four white horses, or the four horses, one was white, one was red, one was black, and one was green, and those four colors are the color of Islam. And so when we start looking at these horses, he was claiming that they were Islam. And so, again, all of my life I've heard different things. I've studied this out. I wanted to find out. And so I've often leaned a lot of different ways. But as we discussed week before last, these prophecies in the book of Revelation is actually a continuation of the prophecies of Daniel. And so what this is actually dealing with, in the middle of those prophecies, God told Daniel to seal those prophecies up. And then now here we see Jesus opening these seals. And where this prophecy picks up, it is a continuation of the prophecies dealing with the Roman Empire. And if you will stick with me for the next few weeks, and I know you may have never heard that before, but I believe if you stick with me for the next few weeks, the next few lessons, that you will see some incredible coincidences. If this is not how to interpret this, it's just an incredible coincidence. But I do believe that you will see that this is a correct interpretation of this prophecy. Now, one of the things that we talked about week before last, or in lesson 18, it was in 96 AD. Again, that is debatable. The preterists believe that John received a revelation sometime before the fall of Jerusalem, but the majority of people, the majority of theologians that you look at, believe that John received his revelation in 96 AD. And in 96 AD, John was on the Isle of Patmos, and probably he had been sent there by Domitian. And so in Revelation 1:1, John is told that he was being shown things which must shortly come to pass. And again, like I said when we talked about this once before, I don't think 2,000 years is a shortly. But if we look at 96 AD through 180 AD, you will find a time. And one of the good things about the historicist view of prophecy is that you can actually get online. You can go to DuckDuckGo. You can go to whatever search engine you want to use, and you can study this for yourself. And I've asked you to do that. I've asked you several times to do that. I'm not telling you anything that I don't want you to go study. I want you to find this out for yourself, and you can study this stuff out and see that what I'm telling you is true. From 96 AD to 180 AD, there was a time that they actually call the time of the five good emperors. Uh, Nerva, he was emperor of Rome from 96 AD to 98. Trajan was emperor from 98 to 117. Hadrian was emperor from 117 to 138. Antonius Pius was emperor from 138 to 161. And Marcus Aurelius was emperor from 161 to 180 AD. And this time is known as the Golden Age of Rome. It was during this time that the Roman Empire reached its greatest territorial expanse, and that happened under the reign of Trajan. But what happened, how Nerva became emperor, was that Domitian was executed, and his assassins placed Nerva as ruler over the empire. And there was two things that all five of these emperors had in common. And again, this is called, you can look it up, this is called the five good emperors. These five emperors was called the five good emperors. And the reason they was called the five good emperors is because during that time, Rome prospered as it had never prospered before. Rome grew as it had never grown before. The height of its power was during the reign of these men. But there was two things that all five of these emperors had in common, and that they brought relative peace, stability, and prosperity to Rome. And the other thing was that they picked who would rule after them. So Nerva, he was actually an older guy when he became emperor. He picked Trajan to follow him as emperor. They actually co-ruled for a while, and all these emperors did that. And then Marcus Aurelius, he decided that he was not going to pick who would follow him. And Nerva was not in the bloodline of the Romans. Usually, anytime that somebody became emperor or Caesar or whatever, like I've told you before, they went through several different types of government. These people would be Romans, but Nerva was not a Roman. And we'll get into that a little bit here in just a minute. But so Nerva, when he became emperor, he reduced the taxes, and he worked hard to welcome back into the empire those whom Domitian had mistreated. Domitian was not a very good guy, and so he was followed. Domitian, once he was assassinated, here he was followed by one of the five emperors that they call the five good emperors. Trajan expanded the Roman Empire to reach the greatest territory it had ever reached. And he also, now when I say that these emperors was five good emperors, they was good for Rome. They was good for the Roman Empire. You know, if you was one of the kingdoms that Trajan defeated, you would probably say he wasn't that great of a guy. But for the Romans, these guys were awesome. And for the Christians, as I told you, as we study through the book of Revelation, we'll also be looking at the church and what was going on in the church. Trajan actually instituted a policy against Christians. If they were captured, they were brought to Rome and punished, but mostly they were executed. But even under persecution, the church continued to grow. Then Hadrian, he placed boundaries around the empire. He decided, when he became emperor, he decided that Rome was the Roman Empire was as big as it could possibly be and still be handled. And so he started building a wall around the empire. It's funny how great leaders decide that there needs to be walls around the place that they're ruling. But anyway, let's go on. Antonius Pius, he ruled the empire, and the empire was at peace. He was very well liked by his subjects. And then Marcus Aurelius is best known for being a philosopher. Now, something else that Marcus did, instead of while Trajan was persecuting Christians, but it was kind of laid back kind of way. He didn't actively go out looking for them, but if they found Christians, they would persecute them. But Marcus Aurelius actively sought Christians out to be persecuted throughout the empire. So these was the five good emperors. Now, let's go back and look at the prophecy and see how this fits in. So, again, let's read that again. In Revelation 6:1 and 6:2, it says, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, And I heard as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Now, when we see these horses in these visions, or in this vision, we see these horses. They represent, the horse actually represents the condition of the people during that time, and the rider represents what is causing the people to be in that condition. So we look at a white horse. Now, one of the interesting things about the Roman Empire is that when Rome would conquer an area, when it would conquer a nation, they would have a victory parade. And the Roman general always rode a white horse in the parade. So this horse actually represents the Romans being victorious. During this time, Rome conquered nearly all of the land that had been ruled by Babylon, the Medes and the Persians and the Greeks, and we talked about that when we studied Daniel 2. We talked about all the different kingdoms that had risen up. And so during this time, the Roman Empire pretty much ruled everything that the Babylonians had ruled, the Medes and the Persians had ruled, and the Greeks had ruled. Now, then it goes on to say, so we see the white horse, and then it goes on to say that he that sat on him had a bow. Now, while this represents war and it represents victory, it also represents something else. Now, I told you that Nerva was not of the royal bloodline. He was not a Roman. He was actually, after Domitian was assassinated, they picked him to be emperor, and he was not a Roman. He was a Greek. And not only was he a Greek, but he was from Crete. His family hailed from Crete, so he was a Cretan. And one of the things that the Cretans were known for is they were archers. The Cretans were known to be excellent archers. And their use of the bow, if you start doing a study on the Cretans, you'll find that their use of the bow dates back all the way to 2200 BC. So they were very, they were just a group of people that knew how to use a bow. They was born, they was raised using a bow. Then it goes on to say that a crown was given unto him. Now this crown, if you look it up in the Greek, you will, if you dig in there a little bit, you will find that this is a victor's crown. It's not a crown like a diadem or something like that. It's a victor's crown. It's like a wreath. And this was the crown. If you do a study during this period, you will find that this was the crown that was worn during this period in Roman history. And again, it says, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. So did that happen? If we're going to look at this and say, okay, this was the Roman Empire from 96 AD to 180 AD, did that happen? Is this fulfilled? If we look at this way, was this prophecy fulfilled? I believe absolutely this prophecy was fulfilled. He went forth conquering and to conquer. And in these days, during the Roman Empire did indeed go forth conquering and to conquer. And again, during this time, Rome reached its greatest height of power during this time in history. Now, there was a gentleman named Edward Gibbon. I don't know if you're familiar with Edward Gibbon or not, but he wrote the history of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. And he stated in that book, he said, if a man were called upon to fix that period in the history of the world during which the condition of the human race was most happy and prosperous, he would without hesitation name that which elapsed from the deaths of Domitian to the ascension of Commodus, which that is the time of the 5 good emperors, or the breaking of the first seal. So I want to thank you for stopping by. We've got a few new subscribers, and I want to welcome you and thank you for subscribing. I hope trust that you'll get something out of the teaching. May the Lord bless thee and keep thee. May the Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. I bless thee in Jesus' name. Thank you again. Until we see each other again, God bless you.